Thank you so much for sticking to Y254. Welcome back to the Power Talk Show. I am your host, Cheryl Blessing. And today we're having a very amazing, interesting conversation. We are talking about healthy weight management, practices that actually are going to make sense for us to have a sustainable weight level, a sustainable healthy weight and overall wellness. That's the thing that we're talking about today. And I want to know from you, what's one of your major struggles when it comes to weight management? Do you struggle to add or gain weight? Do you struggle to lose weight? Do you struggle to keep the weight that you've lost off? Or what are some of the things that you're struggling with when it comes to weight management? It could be your diet. Perhaps you haven't figured out the best diet for you, something that works for you. And I want to get into all of that later because I'm here with Dennis and Ashley. They've given us some amazing gems so far. So I want to read some of the comments you guys have shared on our platforms, and then we'll circle back to some of the things that we can change in our daily lifestyle to ensure that we're becoming healthier. So we have from Facebook, we have Patrick Moore, and he said, weight gain. How can I gain my weight? And that's something that so many people struggle with, gaining weight. I've come across so many skinny people who just want to gain weight. And we have Livingstone Akala KE, who is locked in from Shiatsala in Butere. Amesema, count me in. And I want to hear from everyone else because right now I want us to address the weight gain issue of Patrick, because I tend to feel like it's easier to gain weight for me than to lose weight. But I have so many friends who are just naturally petite and they struggle to gain weight. Sometimes one of my friends one time, she was telling me, I've been working out, I've been doing all these things, and I actually wound up losing weight.
Yeah.
Throughout the weight gaining experience. But there's so many stories and narratives of if you eat this, you're going to lose weight naturally. If you drink that, you're going to gain weight. There's so many things on social media about the foods that we need to eat, the oils we need to get rid of. I want to know, Ashley, as a dietitian,
Yes.
what are some of the things that you'd recommend for Patrick if he wants to gain weight?
Yeah.
What's a healthy diet, maybe thing that he can plan?
Yeah. So first of all, what I'd want to do is I'd want to meet Patrick, and I'd want to see how Patrick is currently eating, because I need to add more to that. I'd want to see if he's undernourished in any way. Is he getting enough carbs? Is he getting enough protein? Is he getting enough fat? Is he getting enough calories? And what does his activity level look like during the day? Also, what is he drinking? Is it water? Is it, tea? Things like this. So it's very hard for me to just give a blanket statement, but ideally he would need to be eating more often and having more calories in each of those meals.
Yeah.
So going for, more full fat dairy products, rather than, he'd need to be having yogurt, some maziwa lala. He would need to make sure he's having the protein. Maybe I'd have to add some avocado there for some more healthy fats, some nuts, some seeds. So we'd have to look at how we can, increase his calorie intake, but it's hard for me to make recommendations when I don't know how Patrick is currently eating and what his activity level is. And what his personal goals are, is he in the gym, is he not? So there's a lot of things to talk about that, but what it comes down to is he's obviously not eating enough per, the weight that he wants to be at. But then I would also ask him, Patrick, why do you think you need to gain weight? Is it because you actually do? Is it because you're unhealthy? Or is it because somebody told you? Because again, we all have our own ideal body weight, right? And so that's kind of the questions I would ask. Sorry, more questions than answers, but that's how it works.
No, but I love that because that's a good point to start at, because it's a very personal journey. So you can't recommend what you'd recommend for maybe Brian to Patrick. You need to know each of them. And unfortunately, as you've said, most of the times, if you want to lose weight for the ladies, it's because of the aesthetics of what social media has told us.
And what men tell us that we should be.
We think men want skinny people.
Yes.
Let me tell you a funny story. So last year, I think I lost some weight. I think I'm naturally big. So I shed some weight. I was feeling so good about myself. Then I met multiple guys who were into thick babes. And I just asked one of them, like, why didn't you guys tell me this 2 years ago when I was thicker? Because then I wouldn't go through all the struggle to shed the weight off. So instead of focusing on what everyone wants, we need to redirect that back to ourselves.
Yes.
Why do we want to be healthy? Why do we want to do this? Why do we want to gain weight? It has to be a very personal journey. But how do we, as I know I've asked you this before, how do we get to that level of self-awareness? But as a medical practitioner, what would you recommend? Why do we need to be healthy? Not just because of the aesthetics or anything else. Why do we genuinely need to start prioritizing maybe being active, what we eat, what we consume, how much rest we get? Why do we need to do that?
Health is an asset. I mean, you can lose everything, but if you have your health intact, you have another opportunity
Yeah.
to build on something or to start at something.
Yeah.
But if your health is deteriorating, believe you me, it will cost you. It has the financial implications. It will cost the people around you. Yeah.
I love that. I think the simple answer, health is an asset.
Yes.
Ashley, please
And
add to
I'm
that.
biting at the bit, yes.
Yeah.
So, health, I just did a panel actually at the What Women Want Summit with Pinky Jelani. And my panel was health is your wealth and why you need to invest in your health. Because like you said, without it, you have nothing.
Yeah.
And it's all about your quality of life.
Yeah.
You know, so to age is such a gift, and to age gracefully, meaning being able to do the things that you want to do, being able to move the way you want to move, have the energy and all these sorts of things, you have to invest right away. And you
Yeah.
have to be able to continue to do that, or maybe you're going to be alive, but you're going to be in a terrible quality of life. You're going to have high blood pressure, high cholesterol, maybe you
Yeah.
need amputations because of poorly controlled blood sugar. What quality of life is that, right?
Yeah.
And so we really need to look at that, and now is the time to invest in your health and wealth,
Yes.
in your health, because it
Yeah.
is your wealth.
It is what- yes.
Yeah,
It
and you
is.
know, we look at it too, like people will be like, but the gym is so expensive, or healthy food is expensive, or
Yeah.
whatever the case. Well, go tell me how much that medication is and how much all those
Yeah.
doctor visits are, and then you can't quantify your quality of life when
Yeah.
you're in that either. You know, the other thing, you know, it supports your immune system. You know, it
Sure.
supports your heart, it supports your lungs. I mean, I think we all learned during COVID
Yeah.
that health was
Right?
everything, and our immune
Yes.
system was everything. You know, so all these things done consistently really add up.
And I love that you both say that. Dennis, you can add to that before we wrap up.
No, just to comment on Patrick. Assuming that he's a person who goes to the gym,
Yeah.
you know, there's always that struggle. And that's why I talked about the importance of knowing your body type. Assuming that Patrick is an ectomorph,
And
You
what's
know.
an ectomorph?
a person who is lean, and for them to gain weight is a struggle. So you'll find out that even when you go to the gym, maybe sometimes some instructors are not really that knowledgeable.
Yeah.
So you'll find someone who is an ectomorph, but they put them on, for example, an exercise regimen that is unnecessary.
Yeah.
For example, they do a lot of cardio, yet they're ectomorphs. So I think it's also important to be aware of that, and then to add on what Ashley said, intake of proteins,
Yeah.
because this is an ectomorph. You need more
Yeah.
more protein intake.
Yeah.
So I think it's good to be aware of your body, even
And
as you
I
come up
think
with your goals.
in case you're wondering what Dennis is talking about, I think that's the body types.
Yes.
We have the ectomorph, the mesomorph, and the endomorph.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's another. It's those three, because with one, you're a bit leaner. With the endomorph, you're bigger. And with the meso, you gain and lose weight easily. I think
Yes.
so. So, you know, those are some of the things that you basically need to know. You need to figure out what's your body type, and then you can work out and eat in accordance to that. Instead of people just wake up and say, I want to go to the gym. You know, I want to go lift weights, because I've seen people lifting weights on social media, on TikTok. I've come across so many videos about you doing ab workouts, and I want to do that. But we don't really inquire or dig deeper. And unfortunately, a few of the practitioners are qualified. I think I've come across only just a few at the gym who actually are either certified nutritionists, they're certified physicians who have an understanding from the professional and the technical perspective. Some of the guys are just bodybuilders. Maybe you worked out, you look good, and you feel like, yeah, I can train you because I've been doing this for 5 years.
From your
And
personal experience.
you know, from
Yes.
your personal experience. So you need to you need to find a professional. I'd recommend, and I think that's where Ashley comes in.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're putting Ashley.
But even with like personal trainers, right?
Yes.
Like you can get seriously hurt if you just
Yeah.
decide, hey,
Yes.
I watched this YouTube video and I want to, you know, work on my biceps. So I
Yeah.
saw them doing this, and then you just start from nowhere.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can get seriously hurt, and so you really need somebody to show you the proper way
Yes.
of how to do it. How many reps do you do? How do you
Yeah.
increase your rate appropriately? And then also not just going to the gym. How do I now eat to
Eat,
support
yeah.
what I'm doing in the gym?
Yes.
Not just in losing weight or gaining muscle, but also performance and the ability to have energy to fuel your workout.
Exactly.
You know,
recovery.
and recovery, yes.
Exactly.
So there's this whole big picture, and we can't just cherry pick this one piece.
Yeah.
And then that's why we're not getting results. And then
And
we're
I
not
love
consistent.
that you're saying that, because, you know,
Yeah.
unfortunately for the ladies, we want to do waist training and expect, you know, I'm supposed to shed this.
Yes.
I don't have a waist after this, but you wake up, you eat your bread, probably even 5 slices of white bread. You have a very unbalanced and healthy diet, mostly carbs. We don't eat at a calorie deficit. You don't even try to get some healthy superfoods in, and we just expect
Results.
I saw someone wrap around saran wrap on their tummy with rub, and they lost some, you know, waistline.
It makes me so sad to see that, honestly,
Yeah.
because this is what diet culture does to us. And this is what it says. It says you as a woman, you need to be this size or you're
Yeah.
unworthy.
Exactly.
You're more worthy because now you look better in whoever's eyes.
Yeah.
And that's really what I want to dispel, because everybody has their own, you know, perfect body of what that is
Yeah.
and where your body is healthy and where you're able to perform and function the way you want to. And so all
Exactly.
this stuff, you know, we really have to work on our awareness.
Sure.
And we really have to be honest with ourselves. Like, if your dream body is a nightmare to maintain, it's not a dream body.
No,
Yeah.
And it's not realistic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To maintain.
Yeah. And all these things are just so fake and untrue. We
Sure.
got to be really,
And I'm wondering
yeah.
now, what's the most realistic thing to do? Because I see all this. There's this guy who's been trending on social media. Wakes up at like 4 a.m. and we hear all these tales of, if you want to work out, get up at 4 a.m. Get in 2 hours of cardio. and
way too much.
Do this. Exactly.
That is
So
not recommended.
What's the right activity level for us, Dennis? When I'm just, we're starting out on our healthy journey. What's the right activity level? How many steps? How active do I need to be through the week? How many days of even working out should I be able to do it? And even when we talk about weight training versus cardio, how often should I do that? So what's the right activity balance?
I think for weight training versus cardio, if I may begin with that, we need to have a fair balance of cardio and weight training.
Yeah.
And also that will depend on your fitness goals. Then when you talk about being active, remember the person posting their video on TikTok that they're waking up at 3:42 a.m. Like I came across one today.
Yeah.
Remember that person, their profession is just fitness.
Yeah.
But for you, you need to go and work. So you need to be aware, just come up with a balance. For example, I think 45 minutes is recommendable for a workout, which can be effective for you, so that you can have that balance. Because you can work out, then you end up being unproductive in your other activities like job. You end up
Yeah.
sleeping. You end up
'cause you're
feeling
burnt out.
fatigued. Yeah, so it's important to take note that we need to have a balance,
Yeah.
and we also need to be aware of what we see, the background. What are these people doing for life? If it is fitness, I mean, I'll give it 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
That's
love
how I see
that.
it.
Yeah.
Can
so
I-
it depends on you. Yeah. Also, as you add on that,
Yeah.
because it really depends on what you're doing. You need to factor in how free you are. Because there are people who they work remotely, so they have all
More
the time in the
Yes.
world to do whatever. So you need to factor in what other activities you have, but try and stay active.
Yes.
So as you add to that, Ashley, also tell us what kind of diet should we look at, and what superfoods, particularly what superfoods should we include in our diets to ensure that we're getting the right amount of protein. We have magnesium. People have low iron. They
Yeah.
have a lot
Yes.
of iron deficiency
Yes.
going
Yes.
around.
Yes.
What are some of the things that we need to make sure that we have consistently in our diets?
Yeah. So when it comes to, first of all, working out, what I would like to say is, again, on an individual level, just do more than what you're currently doing. right? So set these small, sustainable goals.
Yeah.
And then as a woman, I would really like to talk about strength training because, I think that it's very much, some of us aren't aware of how beneficial that is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because especially in perimenopause and menopause and, as we age and in general, men and women,
Yeah.
we really need to work on our muscle because that's truly what supports our metabolism. It also gives us bone strength and increases our bone density.
Yeah.
So there's so many benefits to that. And the other thing that we need to think about too is working out smarter, not harder.
No.
So being more effective in the gym, I think is also very important to comment on. Now your question was, how do we eat healthy? I think in
Yeah.
general. So in general, here's what I'm going to say. 3 meals, I'm going to walk us through a day. How does that sound?
Yeah.
3 meals
Yeah.
and 3 snacks a day to make sure we get all of our vitamins, our minerals, our variety, our protein, and our carbs. So for instance, at breakfast, and I'll just do a Kenyan diet. Is that what you want me to
Yes.
focus on?
Please,
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, you can be healthy with a traditional, typical Kenyan
Yeah.
diet. So in the morning, I want you to have 2 to 3 eggs. I want you to have a third of an avocado, 2 slices of brown bread, and a fist size of mango. So now I have
Yeah.
your fruit, your veg, and your carb and your protein. Done.
Let me take a
Yeah.
pause. Meanwhile, guys, I want you to run, take a pen and a book because this is going to be
Yes.
very, very beneficial. So I want you to take note of what she's talking about, and you can find some ways of supplementing
Yeah, of course.
either
Yes.
with one thing or the other.
Definitely.
Meanwhile, let me read the comments. The question I've asked is between fasting and working out in the gym, which one works for you when it comes to weight management? So what Francis Nyongesa has said from Facebook, who amesema nasikiza nikiwa hapa Mwanda, Bungoma County. Asante Francis. And Stephen Koech has said weight gain. Does maziwa mala or yogurt help in weight loss? And I think we can answer that before we will proceed. And we have Demosto, I believe it's Demosto Musa, who said fasting iki ulizwa inasemaje.
Translate.
Wow. So like the way we're asking between fasting and working out, which one works best for you? So he just said, if fasting is asked the same question, what would it say?
Okay.
So back to what Stephen Koech has said, and then I'll circle back to some of the other conversations. I want us to go step by step when it comes to tackling some of these things, because Ashley wants to take us through what a complete day-to-day diet looks like. And Stephen ameuliza kama maziwa lala and yogurt, does it help in weight loss? And I think you answered that before.
So I'm happy to answer that. So again, we like to say this helps in weight loss. This is going to do it. And
Yeah.
it's not one thing.
Thank
It's not one superfood. It is the whole lifestyle. It is the
Yeah.
whole meal. It is the whole day. It is the sleep. It is the activity. It is all of these things. It's the water intake. So can it be helpful? Yes.
Yes.
Is it
Yeah.
healthy? Yes.
Yes.
Does it have probiotics for my gut health? Yes. Does it have protein? Does it have calcium for my bones? Yes.
Yeah.
So the answer is yes, but what else are you eating with that meal?
Yeah.
What else are you having the rest of your day? And what is your portion?
I like that because it very much depends on your diet and your lifestyle, because it can help you gain weight or it can work to help you lose weight.
And is it sweetened or unsweetened? I mean,
Yeah.
there's so many things. So again, there's
Yeah,
more
true.
questions than answers when we look at things from an individualized perspective,
Yeah.
which we need to.
I like that, Steven. So maybe you can do a bit more research in the type of maybe yogurt that you're having, because sometimes even Greek yogurt, the types of yogurt and everything else,
Yeah.
it varies. So to continue, we were asking about between fasting and going to the gym, which do you find easier? And Steven has also said, I tried fasting, but it didn't work. Gym fixed my weight to some point. And I want us to circle back to that, because people get to a point where they plateau and they wonder why am I not gaining or losing anymore? Wesley Gibson has said he's following the conversation. Thank you so much for that. And we have Nitram Kiarie, who said fasting, but it will also degrade your body and make you weak and also less immune to diseases. That's Ashley clapping, by
Yes.
the way.
Yeah.
We'll circle back and talk about why that is. David Wafula has said a proper gym workout. And Rachel Jose has said gym. Micah Masake Wakoli has said fasting. Fasting works for him. So do we have any more comments? Yeah? We have Ndolo Kyoko who said gaining weight. So that's one thing he's struggling with, between gaining weight and losing weight. He said he's struggling with gaining weight. We have Robin Mjinga who said gaining. Nimejaribu kukula kama nguruwe wapi. 1GB lakini ni kama hizo ni vitu za wazungu. So Robin is saying that he struggled with gaining weight. He's tried to eat as much as he can and he's still the same exact weight that he was at
And
when
looking
he
like a
started.
mazungu?
Yeah, and then he said, lakini ni kama hizo ni
Hizo
vitu
vitu
za
za
wazungu. It's
wazungu,
like,
like,
it sounds like this is
it's
just
foreign,
something that,
you know,
yeah, for the
not
white
really.
man. Yeah. So we'll circle back. And this is we've brought up some very important points. And before we continue with that, just please, let's go back to what you're talking about. A diet, step by step, what
Yeah.
we'd have from breakfast, lunch, supper, some snacks in between. And then we'll talk about why some people get to the gym and their weight just stagnates, or some of the other issues that...
And fasting. I think
yeah,
that
and
we
the
should be talking
fasting.
about that too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we'll circle back to that to address some of the issues that you've highlighted. But
Sure.
Ashley, please.
Sure, so I'll start over from the beginning. So again, you want to have 3 meals a day and you want to have breakfast. It literally breaks your fast. So this is why we don't recommend fasting, because the longer you go without eating, your metabolism
It
slows
slows.
down because your body is in a survival state now. And so your body has to adapt. And what does your body do? It signals the brain to release leptin, which down regulates your thyroid, which down regulates your metabolism. So fasting is very counterproductive if you want to lose weight. And especially if you want to go to the gym because you need the energy. So our breakfast, eat your breakfast, people. That's the main takeaway. So 2 to 3 eggs, 2 slices of brown bread, 1/3 of an avocado. If you want to put spinach in your eggs, awesome. And then a fist size of like mango, okay? Because it's the fruit, the veg, the carb, the protein, okay? Then 10 o'clock. Let's have a banana and a few peanuts, like a small handful, because it's the carb and the protein. Yeah? Then for lunchtime, let's have a fist of rice. Let's have a fist of beans. Let's have some cabbage, and let's have some maziwalala. Because the beans on their own, just this serving, does not have enough protein. So when we have vegetarian sources, we need to have 2 of them. Okay? Then we're going to go to our afternoon snack. And by the way, this helps your metabolism and helps your body get all of its nutrients. So your afternoon is going to be a fist of pineapple and, you know, maybe some yogurt or a few more peanuts. Okay? Because again, always the protein there. Dinner is going to be a fist of ugali. I prefer the ushago ugali because it's the whole corn. You take the whole corn to the posh mill, so it has all those nutrients, not the refined stuff. Yeah? So a fist of ugali, and then you can have a fist of your nyama choma or your beef stew, but you need at least 100 grams of that beef and make sure it's lean. All the greens you want, and then like a fist of watermelon. And then even a bedtime snack, by the way. Yes, which actually helps support your sleep. And you actually wake up with lower blood sugar levels. And that is the trick for people with diabetes, by the way, is a bedtime snack. But it has to have protein and the right carb. So again, another fruit and some nuts or a Greek yogurt would be great. And that's your day.
I love the fact that consistently there's been nothing. I've not had any sodas.
No.
I've not heard about any juice that isn't natural.
And it's Kenyan food.
And
it's
it's
local.
Kenyan.
It's
You know?
affordable.
Yeah.
It's not all meat. It's
And you know that also answers the question, because people we tend to argue that, you know, healthy foods are so expensive, but it's very practical.
Yeah.
Especially if we want to talk about egg prices going up, you can even substitute maybe the eggs with some beans.
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
some protein.
Beans or the yogurt is a good option. Even milk is an option. And so that's where, again, you know, we have to look at the individual perspective. And so I was just giving a random general thing. But absolutely. So you do the best with what you can and you improve upon where you're personally at.
Exactly.
But again, have that balance. So envision your plate divided into 4. My fruit, my veg, my starch, and my protein. Even like nduma, sweet potatoes, those are great things in the morning. And they're more affordable than bread sometimes.
They are. They
Yeah.
actually, guys, if there's anything that should motivate you, just think about the cost of bread right now and just go to the farm. Just
Yes.
go to, you know, someone who has a farm and tell them, just give me ndumas.
Yes.
Or the sweet potatoes.
Yes.
Because those are very practical things that you can do. Just find the balance. You have to have all the food groups in every single diet. And I think the best thing is also when you're having snacks, have a lot of organic snacks like the fruits nuts, those are very organic. Instead of just
You mean
going
whole
for-
foods?
Yeah,
Sorry,
the
I have to
whole
correct you because
foods.
organic is a term about
yeah,
pesticides
yeah.
and things like that. So sorry, I just want to make
Yeah.
sure we're clear. So you mean like whole foods,
The
like
whole foods,
unprocessed?
the grains,
Yes.
yeah, exactly.
Yes.
The
Yes.
unprocessed foods.
Yes.
Because we usually run for biscuits, cakes, and
Yep.
these are processed foods. So let me take another very short break, and then when we come back, we're going to figure out what's the right, what you should do at the gym to ensure that you're constantly either gaining or losing weight, and about fasting, more about it, and even just about our mental health. So let's take a very short break. Stay tuned, and meanwhile, go on our platforms and let us know what you think about whether you struggle with gaining or losing weight, and between fasting and going to the gym, what's one thing that's easy for you?